I came home that Friday evening expecting nothing but the quiet of my hilltop house in rural Nevada, the kind of place where the stars feel close enough to touch and the nearest neighbor is a half-mile down a dirt road. My name's Ethan Caldwell, retired ATF agent, and I bought this plasmy slice of nowhere 3 years ago to get away from the noise, the politics, the petty power games of the world below. But as I pulled my old Jeep into the driveway, something caught my eye, a piece of paper tucked under the windshield wiper, fluttering in the desert breeze. I stepped out, the gravel crunching under my boots, and grabbed it. Notice of reassignment. It read, bold and official-looking, like it came straight from a courthouse. This property is now under the temporary management of the Sagebrush Estates HOA. Please leave the keys in the mailbox by Monday. Contact Linda Hargrove. I read it again, my jaw tight, a slow burn starting in my chest. Sagebrush Estates? HOA? My house wasn't part of any damn HOA, never had been, never would be. I'd made sure of that when I bought the place, checked every plat map, every deed, every line of ink on the closing papers. This was my land, free and clear. No clipboard-wielding busybody had any claim to it. But Linda Hargrove, whoever she was, had just declared war. I crumpled the note, tossed it onto the passenger seat, and let out a laugh, sharp, bitter, the kind that used to slip out in interrogation rooms when some lowlife thought they could outsmart me. Back then, I'd spent 20 years dismantling smuggling rings, staring down guys who'd sell their kids for a payday. Now, some HOA tyrant thought she could scare me out of my own home? Oh, Linda, you have no idea who you're messing with. The next morning, I was up at dawn, coffee in hand, scrolling through my security feeds cameras I'd installed myself, wired to a server buried under the garage. At 8:47, a beat-up van rolled up to my gate, Desert Home Solutions painted on the side. 2 guys climbed out, toolboxes in hand, one of them hitting the intercom. "Yo, we're here to prep the house," the guy said, squinting at the camera like it owed him money. "New tenants are moving in." I leaned into the mic, kept my voice flat. "Prep for what?" HOA orders. We're swapping locks, cleaning vents, and painting the spare room. You know, move-in stuff." I pulled on a flannel, walked out to the porch, and sized them up through the gate. The taller one, Mike, had a clipboard and a nervous tick. The other, Joey, looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. "Are you the owner?" Mike asked, scratching his neck. "Ethan Caldwell," I said, arms crossed. "And you're on my property. Show me the paperwork." Mike handed over a stapled mess of pages, temporary occupancy order scrawled at the top, signed with a flourish by Linda Hargrove. It listed my address, my house, and claimed it was reallocated for community use due to some vague zoning transition. I didn't blink, didn't raise my voice. "Mike, this is fake. My land's not in your HOA. Never was. You're trespassing, and those cameras." I pointed to the lenses glinting above the gate. "They've got every move you're making." Joey's eyes widened, but Mike tried to play tough. "Look, man, we're just following orders." Wrong answer. I tapped my phone, and the gate locked with a heavy clunk. A robotic voice hummed from the speakers. "Perimeter secured. Authorities notified." Mike's face went white. I leaned in, voice low. "You've got 10 minutes to clear out before the sheriff gets here. I know most of them. We go back." They were gone in 5, tires kicking up dust. But I wasn't done. I called up my old buddy, Sarah Nguyen, a lawyer who'd cut her teeth suing corrupt developers. Sent her the footage, the fake order, everything. "This is unhinged," she texted back. "Don't talk to anyone. I'm filing for a restraining order Monday." Sunday morning, I was fixing a fence post when the cameras pinged again. A U-Haul truck sat at my gate, stuffed with furniture, and a woman stood there, arms crossed, radiating entitlement. She buzzed the intercom. "Open the gate. I'm moving in." I switched on the speaker. "And you are?" "Tracy Hargrove," she snapped, like it was supposed to mean something. "Linda's cousin. She said this place is mine now. Community housing, approved by the board." I laughed, couldn't help it. "Tracy, you're on private property. Turn that truck around, or you're gonna have a bad day." She didn't budge, just waved at some guy in the truck who started unloading boxes. That's when I hit the lockdown sequence. The gate stayed shut, shutters slammed over the windows, and my system's voice blared. "Trespassers will be prosecuted. You are being recorded." Tracy flinched, but held her ground, yelling about legal rights until I called the sheriff. By the time deputies rolled up, She was gone, but not before snatching a cease and desist letter I'd slid through the gate slot, courtesy of Sarah. I wasn't just fighting for my house anymore. This was personal. Linda wasn't some misguided bureaucrat. She was a bully, drunk on her power, and Tracy was her muscle. I dug deeper, pulled every record I had on the property, and cross-checked with county plats. My land was a standalone parcel, zoned separately, untouchable by sagebrush estates. But Linda's HOA had been swallowing up lots for years, strong-arming owners with fake fines, forged votes, even liens on homes for unapproved mailboxes. She'd built a fiefdom, and my house was her next conquest. Monday, Sarah filed the restraining order and a motion to declare my property HOA free. I didn't stop there. I wrote a post on the local Facebook group, "No fluff, just facts." To Sagebrush Estates, my home isn't yours. Never was. Stop trying to steal it. Ethan Caldwell, 1782 Coyote Ridge. It blew up hundreds of comments, neighbors sharing their own horror stories. One guy, Tom Delgado, a retired mechanic, said Linda had fined him $3,000 for parking his RV in his driveway. A widow, Mrs. Carter, said she'd paid dues for years on a lot that wasn't even in the HOA. The more I heard, the angrier I got. Then Linda escalated. Tuesday, a drone buzzed over my property, low and deliberate, looping my guest house before dipping toward the valley. I traced its registration through an old ATF contact link to Sagebrush's compliance officer, a shell name tied to Linda's email. That was felony trespass, and I had it on tape. I drove straight to the DA's office, laid out everything. The drone, the fake orders, Tracy's stunt. The assistant DA, a grizzled guy named Paulson, watched the footage and tapped his pen. This could be criminal conspiracy. If her books are dirty, she's done. By Wednesday, the restraining order was in place. Linda and Tracy were barred from my land. I printed copies, laminated them, and stuck them on every corner of my lot. But Linda didn't quit. Thursday, I got an IRS letter, big, brown, official, claiming my house was a suspected business address. Anonymous tip, no prizes for guessing who. I called my accountant, Diane, who laughed so hard she snorted. "Ethan, your filings are cleaner than a priest's conscience." This is desperate. Desperate, sure, but Linda had overplayed her hand. I hired a forensic auditor, an old contact from my ATF days, to tear into Sagebrush's books. 3 days later, he sent me a 92-page report. $500,000 in community projects that never happened, ghost contracts, fake invoices, money funneled to Linda's relatives. I made copies, sent them to the DA, the county clerk, and every homeowner in a 2-mile radius. The fallout was swift. Residents revolted, led by Tom Delgado, who filed a public records request for Sagebrush's finances. Linda stonewalled, but the county wasn't playing. They launched an ethics probe, froze the HOA's accounts, and put it under receivership. Tracy got caught sneaking onto a neighbor's lot with bolt cutters, trying to breach my fence. Deputies nabbed her, and she cut a plea deal, handed over texts, emails, even a voicemail of Linda saying, "Once he's out, we'll sell the place and split it." That voicemail was the kill shot. Friday, the DA indicted Linda. Fraud, conspiracy, misappropriation, and impersonation of authority. 5 felonies. Deputies hauled her out of her McMansion at 6 a.m. No cameras, no drama, just cuffs. Channel 5 ran the story that night. HOA president arrested in property theft scheme. Tracy got 3 years parole and won. Sagebrush Estates was dissolved, its funds returned to residents, its rules erased. I didn't gloat, didn't need to. I turned my house into Coyote Ridge Haven, a retreat for homeowners who'd fought HOAs and won. We held our first meetup that spring. 10 people, coffee, stories of battles over fences, flags, even flower beds. I hung a sign by the door. This land was claimed, was fought for, was kept. Try again, Linda. Everyone laughed, snapped photos, and shared it online. But as I stood on my porch that night, bourbon in hand, the desert stretching out below, I couldn't shake one thought. Linda wasn't just one bad apple, she was a symptom. How many HOAs out there are pulling the same stunts, bullying people out of their homes, hiding behind bylaws and fake smiles? I'd won, sure, but what about the folks who don't have cameras, lawyers, or 20 years of ATF grit? So, I'm asking you, what's your take? Ever dealt with an HOA horror show? or someone trying to push you off your land? Drop it in the comments. Let's hear your story. And if you think no one should mess with your home, hit that like button, share this video. Because out here, in the quiet of the desert, I learned one thing. You don't just build walls to keep your place safe, you stand your ground, or it's not yours at all.